All right, man. But Kev, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm glad you made a little bit time out of your evening to come on and talk to me about all things music. Before we get started, how are you actually doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah.
Kept busy?
Yeah, kept busy. We just released a song yesterday, so I've been doing all the promotion for that.
Excellent. Cool. Well, we're going to talk about yourself, music. We'll talk about the band, what's happening down the line in the future as well. But what I like to do with all the guests is go back to the very beginning. So where originally are you from?
I born in Glasgow, but I grew up in Dunoon.
Right, okay. And see, when you were young, were you exposed to music from a young age? Were your parents of that playing music or that?
My mum was into a lot of music, and not the same type of music as myself. But going through high school, it was round about that new metal, pop punk era. You know, you get Blink-182 and Green Day and Limp Bizkit and all these Linkin Park and all these bands just emerging from the scene.
So was that? Well, first of all, what were the bands that your folks were listening to?
Oh, like my mum was listening to what I can describe as like 80s kind of pop dance music at the time, you know, but through high school she listened to like AC/DC and stuff like that, you know, so
aye. Right, okay. So what age were you, would you say, when you sort of discovered your own musical taste? Who were some of the bands that you started to discover for yourself?
So first, I started listening to The Offspring, and then as I dived deeper into that, I was into Blink-182, started listening to Bowling for Soup, started listening to Les and Jake, Green Day have always been a massive part of my life. And then later on, I dived deep into grunge music, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains.
What age are you, Kev?
I am 38.
Right, okay, so you're a wee bit younger than myself, but because all the bands that you've just mentioned there, I know all of them. I'm 43, so I'm a wee bit ahead of you. Yeah. But, you know, when I was coming up, it was like Metallica, Iron Maiden, all the grunge bands came in. Yeah. You had all the real hard rock like Pantera, Sepultura, all these bands in the 90s. And then the new metal came in, and obviously the early 2000s, you had all like the Deftones and all those types of bands as well. But it was a cool time to be into music. Like somebody, it's funny, like, because you kind of think the 90s wasn't that long ago, but actually it was. Someone was saying, I had somebody on the podcast previously, and they was just saying what a great time to be of a certain age where you were getting into music. Like some people kind of laugh at the 90s, but the 90s was absolutely brilliant for music. Even bands. Like, I was never into the Britpop thing, but there's no denying that it was probably the last big wave that actually, you know, like bands like Oasis and all that, whether you like them or not, they definitely inspired an entire generation to pick up the guitar. And there's not really been anything like it since. And I'm hoping it kind of comes around again. I mean, there's always good bands out there, but there was definitely like a movement in the 90s.
A lot of the music bands that I was talking about and the bands you mentioned, they all, round about that time, they all got like major record labels and they were all in the mainstream. You know, you used to be like, buy their singles and like Woolworths when that was still a thing. And so
it's back when you could argue that albums were important. You know, sometimes it feels like nowadays they're not as important. I think it depends what age you are when you grow up. Like, to me, having an album is still a big deal. Like, to have it, holding it in your hands, especially if you're in a band like yourself, if you create something from scratch, to be able to say that I've made this, to me that's still really, really cool. But that, there's a whole generation that never went to they never went to a music shop and bought albums. It's just accessible on your phone. And they love music just as much, but it's different.
Yeah, not only that, like, so a lot of well, the vinyl records were a different level of artwork and craftsmanship, but the CDs, they used to come with those little booklets and it had all the lyrics in it, and it used to have all the pages were all different, all this different artwork. I kind of miss that. I miss like you say, a physical CD with a cool booklet, with lyrics and stuff in it.
I mean, you're of a similar age to myself, so you would have probably been the same. You save up your money, you go and buy an album that you're wanting, you bring it home, and you're playing it start to finish, so you're listening to the entire thing start to finish. But whilst you're listening to it, you're looking at the artwork, you're reading the lyrics, or whatever it was that was in the wee booklet, and it was the whole package.
Yeah.
Kind of meant something.
Yeah, and also the bands also had a section at the back where they could thank other bands, and there was all that stuff as well. Yeah. It
was cool, and I don't think it will come back the way it was, because just that's the way the world has went. But I still like it. I just think it's changed nowadays. And but give me a wee laughing. Do you remember what was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Well, the first album, my own money. Well, really pocket money, not really like job money. Because I would say probably Americana by The Offspring.
Right, okay. That's a pretty decent first album. I've had some pretty shocking answers to that question by other people, but that's not too bad. What was the first professional concert that you ever went to?
So the first professional concert I went to was Less Than Jake in the Badlands.
All right, okay, that's pretty cool. And the Barras is a great for gigs.
I was a bit older at that point. I was 17, and it was back in a time period where you could go up to the bar and you could kind of like try and get a drink if you were like 17 years old. My first ever gig would have been Sum 41 in the SCCC, but. What happened was I ended up getting ill and I wasn't able to go. And I would have been about 15 years old.
Oh well, okay. That's not too. That's a pretty decent, okay choice that you've gave us. Some people, it's been pretty. They've not been brave enough to even tell me what the true answer is. So it's been not too bad, Kev. But obviously, you're playing guitar and vocals. Was the guitar the first instrument you picked up?
It was actually the bass guitar. I first got a bass guitar, and then I started messing about with my friend's acoustic guitar, and then I thought I want to play the guitar, so I moved from the bass to the guitar. I never really learned to play the bass properly. Like I can, I still wouldn't say that I'm particularly good on the bass. There's some really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a guitarist, so I can play the bass as in I can follow the chord structure, but when you actually compare me to a bass player, like I've got a band that we write and record now. On the demos, I'll maybe put down a bass track just to kind of get an idea of what the song's meant to sound like. Yeah. But when I hand it over to Gav, who's the bass player, he's a bass player. Like it's night and day. Like what I'm playing is embarrassing compared to him. He's doing things that in my mind would probably just never think of because I'm a guitarist. I'm not a bass player. So probably similar to for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. When I watch our bassist play things and come up with things and modify the basic structure of what I've kind of said to go by, like he does. He works around it, and yeah, it does. It does. It comes up with some amazing things that I wouldn't think of doing.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing the Gav that I was telling you about that plays the bass. The two of us do album reviews as well on the podcast, and and it's funny because it's like we were sitting doing a review just before Christmas there, and when you actually sit and you listen to it, it's amazing that the songs we were listening to, the drums and the bass, they were just like a complete unit driving the entire song,
Yeah.
and it enabled the guitar to kind of do whatever they wanted in between and that, but you needed that strong sort of foundation to make the song what it was.
You need,
But
yeah, you need like the drums and the bass kind of like keeping the rhythm, the tempo, and all that stuff. Without that,
yeah,
you could very easily play out of time. With it.
yeah. So obviously you picked up the bass, switched over to the guitar. Did vocals come later on?
Vocals came more when I got a bit better on the guitar. Like, I started playing the guitar when I was 15 years old. I was in high school, and then
Yeah,
I left school at 16 and went to college briefly to do music, and I got a bit better on the guitar there. But by that point, I was able to kind of sing and play the guitar.
What college did you go to?
I went to James Watt College in Greenock.
All right, just because I went to Stowe College through in Glasgow.
Yeah, no, like it was. So, like, growing up in Dunoon, like you used to have to get like a ferry over the water and then head to Cop.
Yeah,
It was back before they got all of their amazing setup as well. Like, so all their amazing recording setup. They've got like studios under the college now. But back then, they used to send you up the back of Greenock, like to like a like a dodgy like housing scheme where they had like a rehearsal room.
I'm thinking back when I was at college, Stowe College in the 90s. They didn't have Pro Tools because the internet was only just starting to kind of come
Right.
out, and it was you still had. I can even remember you had a class, and it was reel to reel tape, and you had to cut and splice, and then tape it back together. That your actual exam was cutting and splicing something on an old reel to reel tape.
Yeah,
This was
yeah. We were recording on, was it 8-track tapes? I don't. It wasn't easy because and then you take the tape out and you put it in you'd put it in a normal tape player, and it would be like it wouldn't be the right speed and all that. There's lots of things about it.
I think I had a wee Tascam 4-track years ago, and it was the same thing. It played at a different speed to like a normal tape player.
Yeah,
So it was a nice kind of like if you could listen to it back through the actual 4-track, but you couldn't go and put the tape into the car because it would be like a completely different speed.
yeah.
I know. But with regard to the guitar and your vocals, back then, who were some of your influences? It might be the same people nowadays, but who were some of the influences for you on guitar and vocals?
Billy Joel from Green Day. Who else? A bit of Nirvana as well. A bit of Nirvana, because I actually later on I went down the grunge route. I was in a grunge band at one point. But yeah, Green Day. I was learning to play Green Day songs. The people I was in college with were either like metalheads, like that wanted to either play Metallica or Guns N' Roses, or there was complete different end of the spectrum where it was like people that wanted to be pop stars. It was and they would throw us all into these bands because we'd had to do we had to work together and all that sort of stuff. But it was quite difficult. I didn't really find anyone in college that had the same music taste.
Yeah, I was probably the same, but at the same time, my musical knowledge kind of, I discovered all these artists and bands I never knew of as well. But I think I was probably the only one walking around with a Pantera t-shirt on. But it is what it is. But firing at statues, we'll talk about the band. So when did the band initially start?
It started in late 2018.
Right.
It came at the end of an era of another band that three of us had been in previously. We'd got a band, okay. And we'd kind of basically hit the end of the road with inviting our fans out to our gigs because we were gigging so much. So we're in a band called Century 13, and three of us got together, and we minus one member. Three of us got together and went back to the kind of pop punk roots.
Right. So who was?
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Who was? Oh, sorry, I was going to say who was the new member that you brought into the fold?
Right. So for a while when we started out, we were a 3-piece, and we were intending to be a 3-piece, and just logistically it'd be easier to travel and practices and all that stuff, and it was going to be more kind of punk rock, pop punk, and kind of more on a more basic level than Century 13, because that was kind of a mixture of more alternative rock and more pop punk, so it was. But what ended up happening was the drummer that came over with us from Century 13 quit almost straight away. He was no longer wanting to do music and wanting to write a book and different things, so we went on this two of us went on this long hunt to find a drummer, and we tried different drummers out. We had loads of stories about drummers, and didn't really come together until we got a full-time drummer, who is no longer with the band because he left to join a band called the Guillotines.
Right.
At that point, we recruited our old pal Scott, who was in the band Century 13 with us, the fourth member. He came back into the fold, and
right.
And it wasn't really until so we played our first ever gig at the start of last year with our new drummer, so it wasn't
right.
So yeah, a lot of changes, a lot of different drummers.
It sounds very Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Well, so one of the drummers that showed up to audition for us, we from the advert we thought it was going to be a 30-year-old female drummer, right? And we approached it differently. I was like, right, I'll go meet this person beforehand just to let them know that we're okay and we're not dodging anyway. And I went and met this person, and this person was not a 30-year-old female. This person was a retired man who was like there with his wife. Meet me. So we set up a practice because I was like, oh, we may as well see what this guy could do, you know? And he showed up with his wife and his daughter for the practice. Yeah. And it was very strange. They both had like t-shirts that said like Road Crew on it. Yeah, it was very strange.
Oh God, I'm actually embarrassed and I wasn't even there. Oh well, each to their own. But see for firing statues. Mm-hmm. See when it comes to songwriting, what is the band's process for writing a song? Is there a main songwriter in the band, or does everybody sort of contribute?
Well, I'm the main songwriter in the band, but the way that we do it now is we go to a rehearsal room and we try out different ideas, and also the way I come up with lyrics is I just play the guitar and I just sing whatever comes to mind, and then I go over it and I go, what that worked, that didn't work, you know, and then we all come up with like different ideas on different things that we could do with that song.
So are you going to a rehearsal with maybe the skeleton of a song and then showing the guys and everybody contributes to then make the song sound better?
Sometimes, and other times it's just like a jam session where we try out different ideas.
Is there one way works better than the other, or does it just depend on that specific night?
No, they both work just as well. Starting out writing the songs for the band, there were all kind of ideas that I would kind of bring along as the skeleton part of the song, and then we would build on it. But yeah, like I think now we just kind of do a bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of music is that there's not a right or a wrong way. I mean, it's whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, obviously that's your songwriting. When it comes to recording, how does the band like to record? Do you record live, or do you like record the drums and layer everything on top of it? Is there a preferred way for yourselves?
We prefer to do the kind of layered way where we do the drums first, and then we can do lots of different takes of the guitar and the vocals.
Yeah. And you're saying obviously with the band that you haven't been gigging that long, albeit you started back in 2018. Keep in mind the world closed down for a good couple of years with COVID as well. But when it comes to gigging for yourself, what's your likes and dislikes with regard to gigging?
What's my likes and dislikes? Well, a lot of those things I have kind of eliminated, right? So, like one of my biggest dislikes was equipment. You know, like having to carry big amps and all that stuff. Like I've worrying about string snapping. I got a dual guitar bag, so I've got two guitars that I take with me. You know, things like that. But right. The way that they eliminated the amps is we got like I got a Line 6 pedal, a Helix pedal, and that just goes straight into the DI, and it's light, and I can put it in my bag.
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty good. It's funny, I do gigging as well, and I don't. The part I dislike or the bit I worry about most, it's not so much the playing. I know that I'm more than capable of playing, you know, doing what I'm there to do. It's things like you say, like is there going to be a technical issue? Are the strings going to break? Am I going to have a terrible sound? It's more things like that, but I think that's probably quite normal because you want it to sound as good as it can possibly sound. That's just normal.
Yeah, you're doing your practices, rehearsals, and it's sounding pretty great because you've had a chance to really perfect that. But then when you hit a venue, you're at the sound guy's mercy, you know, like or technical issues or whatever. But another thing that it's bothered me a lot is the communication between like, you know, promoter and artist. You know, like I realise that they're incredibly busy and, you know, that they don't always have the time to get back to you, but sometimes you just want to find out a simple thing that you don't know the answer to.
Yeah, I know that all too well. Obviously, when you're of my level and you're contacting the pub or wherever it is directly, you know, even if they've not got any spaces in their diary, a simple reply just saying, sorry, we've not got any spaces at the minute. See, when you're waiting for an answer and then you feel like you're annoying them if you message them again. But as you say, it's like I've never ran a pub or a live venue, so I can only imagine that these people are busy and they'll be doing things that I can't imagine, and they're probably getting contacted off so many people at the same time. But it is what it is. For 2025, we're quite early on in the year, so what is the plans for the band for the rest of the year?
So the plans, the plan is in the summer to record a new single, like another new single, and shoot another music video. We've to get our Spotify's listen count up, you know, because I only really started focusing on it properly last year. And just to do better promotion, to play more gigs outside of Glasgow as well. Like, so we want to branch out and play different places and you know, build a fan base.
That's maybe where online networking then becomes useful. You know, you meet other bands and sometimes it's easier if you've got 2 or 3 bands that you can arrange something together to put on. But it's easier said than done. But Kevin, I like to end things with some fun questions because we've been obviously quite technical for any musicians that are watching. But I'm going to ask you some fun questions. You can give me your take on it. So imagine you could go back in time anywhere in the world. Big gig, small gig, I'll let you decide. What's the one gig that you wish that you could have attended?
Oh, there's so many. It's going to be a toss-up. Probably. I don't have a certain venue in mind. You know, I've got more of it's just a band. Like, I would love to go back in time and like see the Beatles, like play in Liverpool. You know, when they were starting.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. Something to see, definitely. Obviously, I could ask you the same question every day and you could give me a different answer. It's one of those types of questions. Next question, probably something a little bit similar. So, thousands and thousands of great songs have been written and recorded over the years by different artists. What's the one song that you wish you could have been in the recording studio to witness it being recorded?
Oh, the one song. I'm probably going to have to go with the Beatles again, just because of how they had to record, like, Pepper and all that. You know, just I think there's so many other ones, but the old recording ways, you know, or someone like Johnny Cash having to use a dollar bill to make a snare sound. That would have been pretty cool as well.
Yep. So correct me if I'm wrong. The other guys in the band, we've got Dale on bass, Claudia on lead guitar, and Jamie on drums. Is that right? So you're going to obviously put one of these guys in trouble now. So imagine you've got a dead body in the boot of your car.
Okay.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You've got to dispose of this body, no questions asked. Which band member are you phoning to help you, and why are you phoning them?
Oh, man. Probably Jamie. Just because he is the quickest at responding to my messages. Logistically, it would be harder because he doesn't stay in Glasgow. He stays further away. He stays closer to Falkirk and that. So yeah.
Right, okay, that's fine. And last question for yourself, Mount Rushmore. Who is the 4 bands for yourself, whether it be performance, whether it be songwriting, whether it just be the overall package? Who are the 4 bands for yourself that are your favourites?
My favourites? Did you say 4? Just Green Day, because they had such a big influence on me. I would have Johnny Cash on there as well. Like it doesn't come through in the music, but absolutely love Johnny Cash. The Beatles, I've mentioned them. The Beatles for the 3rd one, and probably Nirvana.
It's 4 decent choices, and it's funny because every single person I get on the podcast, it's the last question I ask them, and you get 4 different answers every single time. And it doesn't matter, if it's like a punk band or a rock band. Just because it's rock, somebody that's playing rock music, it might not be 4 rock bands that they choose it. It's interesting just to hear, what people like, and as I say, you get a different answer every time, so it's fascinating. But Kevin, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to myself. Obviously, the band is on social media, so if anybody is wanting to give you a follow, they can keep up to date with what's happening with the band, any up-and-coming gigs, any new music releases, anything that they can purchase, all that sort of stuff. You're online on social media, so they should give you a follow. And I do wish you all the luck with the band in the future as well. But thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much.